Good afternoon, folks. Appreciate you all being here. My name is Lance Sheik. I'm General Counsel for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office, and I want to take the opportunity to address, to the extent that I can, some of the facts and circumstances that surround this current litigation that has been filed between Savannah Neighbors, former employee with the Sheriff's Office, naming several parties as defendants, one of which being the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. And please understand as I make these comments that I represent only the Greenville County Sheriff's Office and do not and would not attempt to make any comments on behalf of any other defendants, and certainly not on behalf of the plaintiff. I believe when you got here you were given a copy of Rule 3.6. I want to go ahead and let everybody know up front, did you not have those? They're available to be handed out. Attorneys are governed by the rules of professional conduct, which can be found in the South Carolina Appellate Court Rules. It's what's commonly called the ethical rules. We've got some copies of Rule 3.6 available for you. That is actually the rule that governs pretrial publicity, and it says that no attorney will make any public pretrial statement to be disseminated by public means that the attorney knows or reasonably should know will likely have a prejudicial effect on the trial of this matter. And so keeping with the Rule 3.6, and keeping with the notion of fundamental fairness to all the parties that are involved in this litigation, I will not be able to make comments on the allegations, potential defenses, facts surrounding it, or anything else, because as I said, I want to be fair to everybody. We have a system of justice that provides a forum for the resolution of disputes such as this, and there's rules of court that protect all the parties, plaintiff and the defendants. And I want that system to work correctly as it's supposed to. So understand that I know you'll have some questions, but in keeping with the rules and my ethical obligations, I simply won't be able to comment on the facts surrounding the litigation. What I did want to do is to bring you kind of up to speed on how we've got to where we are. As General Counsel here at the Sheriff's Office, we receive, among other things, Freedom of Information Act request. That's requests for certain documents to be provided under the FOIA. I realized last week when I got a Freedom of Information Act request that said, please provide copies of the complaints filed against Sheriff Lewis by the plaintiff in this case with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. And that made me realize that I think a lot of people in the public simply don't understand how we got to where we are, and that's what I wanted to bring you up to speed on today. The plaintiff in this action separated from employment with the Greenville County Sheriff's Office in April of 2017.
This is not mine, by the way, but I'm just trying
to
help someone out. I can't, who's this? Yeah, you want to maybe extend those?
That's fine. Separated from her employment in April of 2017. When we first learned of the existence of a potential legal dispute, we received a letter from a law firm in the lower part of the state that informed us they represented the plaintiff, that they believe she may have a claim for civil rights violation, and the letter was in the form of what we call a preservation letter. The letter said, because of our representation, we're asking you to preserve any evidence in your possession related to the employment of this individual. And that would be text messages, emails, any other employment records, maintain them, make sure they don't get destroyed or lost. So the first step we took is that. We made sure we locked down all information that we had in our possession related to the plaintiff and preserved that so that it's not purged from our records or otherwise lost. And then, of course, we reached out to the law firm to say, can you tell us what the nature of the allegations are? Before we were able to have that conversation with the law firm, there was a post on an internet site. I believe it was a jacksonpinefarms.com. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. Purportedly to be from the plaintiff in this case, where she described something that she had experienced while employed here at the Sheriff's Office. It wasn't specific in the allegations, but it was certainly sufficient enough that I met with the sheriff about it, and the day that blog post was posted, within the hour, at the direction of Sheriff Lewis, I contacted the State Law Enforcement Division, commonly called SLED, and the Sheriff's Office requested an investigation into those allegations because that was the entirety of what we knew at that point. We subsequently reached back out to the initial law firm who said we no longer represent the plaintiff. The next contact we have is from another law firm, again in the lower part of the state, that said they had undertaken representation of the plaintiff. On behalf of the Sheriff's Office, I asked that law firm, can you give me a verified complaint and that is something sworn to by the plaintiff that says this is what happened, when, where, how, what, so that I could understand the nature of her allegations. In conversations, they indicated that, yeah, they would be happy to do that, but before that could be obtained from them, I received notice from them that said, we no longer represent Ms. Neighbors. And obviously, I did not ask them any of the circumstances around their representation. It's not my business. We then received a contact from the current law firms that represent Ms. Neighbors. And in talking with them, they were kind enough to share a draft of what they intended to file if they went to court. We asked them again for a verified complaint of some kind, something verified by Ms. Neighbors saying this is what happened, when, where, how, again, so that we can understand that. And to this point, we haven't received that. I don't know what their intentions are to that. I certainly wouldn't speak to their intentions in any way, shape, or form. I understand that they have now filed an action in the Court of Common Pleas in Greenville County. I actually printed a copy off. I have here, but I printed it off of actually a news website. We have yet to be served with that lawsuit. Rule 3 of the Rules of Civil Procedure says an action is actually commenced when it's filed and served under the statute of limitations. Now, I haven't been served with this yet, but I was able to get a copy because I believe it actually went up on the internet the day it was filed. So as of yet, we have yet to actually be served with that lawsuit. So the question was raised, obviously, what have y'all done based on the complaints? And so I wanted to make clear how the stage has unfolded that we've received this information. At the time I first saw the draft of the complaint and then this filed one, we had already requested an independent investigation by SLED, and that investigation is ongoing. Now, it is an independent investigation, so SLED does not apprise me of what's going on, where they are in the process of anything of that nature, nor should they. But I'm certainly trusting them to do a full and complete investigation of all the circumstances surrounding that. Now, to the extent possible, I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can if y'all have any.
One question I have about you and Ms. Rothstein representing the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. Are you on a retainer? How did the client-attorney relationship begin?
Well, it began, I was employed back in the end of February of 2017. I'm an employee of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office. I was I was employed, hired as general counsel. And so my full-time job is working here for general counsel. And I handle a myriad of legal issues for the Sheriff's Office. Ms. Rothstein came later. She was hired to fill a second slot. And she, too, serves a myriad of functions regarding legal advice, obtaining, researching grants, and various things. But both of us are Greenville County employees.
Can you specify when you got the letter from the first law firm initially asking for the preservation?
I can look back and find the date for that letter for you. I would hate to speculate right now because I'm going to give you the wrong date if I do. It was...
for a month?
I believe it was in June, but I would really have to check to make sure.
Okay.
So you're not able to provide an answer until you've been served the lawsuit, correct?
As far as answering the lawsuit, that's correct. I don't go to the courthouse and get my own copy and then file an answer. The plaintiff has the opportunity to serve it at their discretion, and they have certain legal rights available to them prior to serving it if they wanted to amend or do any number of things. So, you know, they're doing this as they see advisable, and I'm waiting to be served. I have indicated we're willing to accept service on behalf of the Sheriff's Office if they want to.
Is this unusual for this type of case to not be served yet with the lawsuit, even though it's been filed?
I don't know. I don't know that it's that unusual for a case to be filed and there be some lag of time in getting it served. I certainly can't speak to why we haven't been served and don't mean to imply one thing or another. I've seen cases that have taken weeks to be served, though.
Mr. Sheik, the sheriff indicated last week that he plans to remain in office. Since then, there has been I guess a growing chorus of leaders, officials, if you will, who have said they would like to see him step down while this case plays out. Do you see this case as a distraction to the business of the Greenville County Sheriff's Office and the people that it serves?
I do not believe it has been a distraction to the people of this office. We've got about 450 sworn officers. We've got another 150 or so administrative personnel, and I can tell you, because I've practiced law from the coast to the mountains in 25 years of doing this, the men and women of this agency have surpassed anything I could have ever hoped for in a law enforcement agency. They know the mission of this agency. They continue to do the work of this agency on a daily basis with a dedication that I find to be so admirable. So while I think people could allow this to be a distraction, the men and women that I have seen have simply not allowed it to do that, and they have gone forward with their job in a way that makes me proud to be part of it.
Have there been conversations between you and Sheriff Lewis as to, you know, what the logical play is here, whether he should stay in, whether he should resign, you know, what's best for everybody?
Well, one of the most fundamental rules of the ethical guide is that communications between any attorney and a client in the whole office are my clients.
Sure.
Are strictly confidential, and I would be completely out of line to comment on any conversations I've had with any of the individual personnel here, sheriff included.
How did Sheriff Lewis handle telling the deputies and the administrative personnel about this incident?
I don't know how he's handled that because I wasn't with him when any of that occurred.
Representing the sheriff's office, I know the sheriff's office sexual harassment policy kind of ends with the sheriff. Since the allegations, is that something that you guys are now looking at, adding more channels?
Well, we're always looking at any way we can improve any of our policies, and this litigation may or may not provide thoughts or ideas on how we can improve the process, recognizing that the sheriff was the object of the allegations. That's the reason we called in SLED, so that the investigation is done completely independently of us.
Can you clarify, too, so you work for the sheriff's office, not the sheriff, or is there a conflict going on there?
Well, no, I work for the sheriff's office, the agency. The Greenville County Sheriff's Office is my client. The sheriff has an individual attorney that represents him individually, and I do not speak on behalf of the sheriff individually. I speak on behalf of this agency.
There is audio of a man and a woman. The man is identified as Sheriff Lewis. Is that Lewis on that audio?
I don't know, and I wouldn't comment on anything involved with the litigation. There's certain rules of court that we'll follow to protect everybody's interest in this litigation. And that's not something I could comment on at this time.
Given the great interest in this case, has there been any indication as to whether Sheriff Lewis plans to address the media or even the public anytime in the near future?
That's not a conversation that I'm involved in with Sheriff Lewis. That's something I guess he would determine with his attorneys. Speaking on behalf of the agency, I do not know what his plans are as far as addressing anybody.
I know you said in this case SLED was called in, but are you guys looking at changing the policy so that there's more outlets that people that believe their victims can go to, that is not just the sheriff, so that something like this may not happen again in the future?
Well, those outlets have always been available. Anybody, if they feel like they've got an issue with the sheriff's department or police department or anybody, can always contact SLED. So, yes, absolutely. We brought them in because they're a statewide agency and they're independent, and I have full confidence that they will handle the investigation with the integrity they've handled every other matter I've ever dealt with them on.
Can you talk a little bit about the cost? Are there additional costs for the county to cover a case like this?
I don't have personal knowledge of the cost involved or the manner of payment, so I really couldn't speak intelligently to that.
Would this be handled in any other different type of way if it was not the sheriff himself and it was just another employee within the sheriff's office?
Well, there is an internal mechanism for handling complaints here, but obviously when it involves the sheriff, then I felt, and the sheriff felt, it would be inappropriate for us to internally handle anything. He immediately, upon reading the blog, told me to contact SLED, and I did, and SLED undertook their investigation.
What is the process for budgeting and approving out-of-town trips?
I couldn't speak to that at all. I have no part of the budgeting or how county counsel handles any of that. Any other questions?
In regards to the position that Neighbors was hired for, do you know if any other people interviewed for that position?
No, I don't know that. I'm not saying they didn't. I don't know that. I know when her position came open after she separated, there was a interview process and there were multiple applicants.
is someone in that current position now?
There is someone in the position that she held that is the sheriff's coordinator, yes.
And did the sheriff specifically create that position when he took office?
I was not here when that occurred, so again, if I answered, I would be speculating. I apologize.
So as you've laid out the timeline of events from your perspective, for people watching this, what's the biggest takeaway from your message today?
Well, I can say this, and I've done this for 25 years as a trial lawyer, most of which were spent as a prosecutor, but also in private practice. There's an ancient proverb that says, "He who tells a story first seems right, till another comes along to question it." And that proverb was written over 3,000 years ago. And that speaks to the system of justice that we've put in place. And that's the reason we have that system of justice. We want fairness to all the parties. If I were to stand here and lay out allegations and baseless claims against somebody and they weren't here to challenge it, that would be fundamentally unfair. And so I will never do that. That's why we have the rules of court. That's why we have the rules of evidence. And that's why we have Rule 3.6. So I would just encourage everybody to take a breath and let the system work the way it's designed, and then make a determination at the appropriate time.
But also, is it not fair for the sheriff to just step aside while SLED is investigating?
Well, when you ask me to speak to what's fair, I don't know if I'm the one to speak to what's fair one way or the other. And again, that's not a discussion I have with the sheriff as an agency attorney. That's a decision for him to make, and it's a proper decision for him to make.
Ms. Neighbor's attorney said that the verified complaint that you said you all did not receive is attached to the lawsuit, so you're saying you did not receive that because you haven't been served yet?
I haven't even received the lawsuit, so I don't know what's attached to it. Thank you very much for coming. That's all the time I have for now. Thank you.
Sorry about the mic, guys.
I don't know. I'm trying to find out.
Someone commented, good hustle.
Good hustle?
Good hustle. When the mic drop. Doing Facebook
Yeah,
Live.
They finally ordered me a clip. I can put it on the side.
Yeah, we're a little bit. Our clip is kind of crappy, but just throw some duct tape on those bad boys. That's
keeping some duct tape in the bag.
high technology right there.
That's right. State of the art.
Have a good one, man.
It was good until he started hitting the podium. It was perfect.
Oh, okay.
You'll know, admit that you like my where you got the ancient proverb response.
Oh,
That-
yeah,
that-
the ancient
Yeah,
proverb.
'cause I'm like, listen, I'm like, okay, well, what's the takeaway here? Hold that thought for a second.
You guys got a lot because we're getting ready to do one too.
Oh,
so. No, you're not in the way. I'm just
Okay,
saying.
I don't think I do,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's all yours.